So, this is a bow build, and the last time I played and liked the bow build was explosive arrow build. Actually, that's the only bow build I like. In fact, I don't even know how to make a bow build unless it is pure elemental damage build. However, I really wanted to try Siege Ballistas, so I decided to go elemental, because that's the only thing I know. You wanna know how I see passive skill tree? I know Witch and Templar very well. Also I know Shadow and Marauder. Also I know a bit about duelist. And then there is something mysterious. Bottom right corner of the passive skill tree is unknown zone to me. I know that evasion, projectile and bow nodes exist somewhere in that unknown zone, but I do not dare to go there. Oh, and also there is Scion, jack of all trades. You know, I would like to keep this video short, because this build is really nothing special. I was able to do red tier maps, but it is kind of slow even to me. It was just a fun project. In my previous video I asked for feedback and suggestions how to make this build better, and after testing most of them, this is what I end up with. 5 Siege Ballistas, a bit over 5000 life, 20,000 DPS in combat, or 30,000 effective DPS, and 44,000 effective DPS against shocked enemies. And this is for each Siege Ballista. Against standard enemies which are shocked, effective DPS is 28,000. Since I'm not used to evasion builds, it was really hard to balance my survivability and damage. By the way, this is only on 5 link. On 6 link of course you can get more damage. So it is relatively cheap. And ethical. No double dipping BS. Just one more thing before I talk about items and passive skill tree. You know what I like about League of Legends is that it is mostly skill based. You see a projectile and you try to dodge it. You try to outplay your enemy. Even if you have weaker items, you can still win. And it is very satisfying to outplay your enemies. So maybe that's why I kind of like this build. You move a lot, you try to dodge all the projectiles and predict the enemy movement. You know you are kind of weak, but you still somehow manage to deal with more dangerous enemies and bosses. And this kind of gameplay gives me the same feeling that I get in League of Legends. But I get it, if you are used to strong builds then this build will seem like a crap. But it's okay, you don't watch my videos for some strong builds. Right, so let's talk about items, passive skill tree and be done with this. For weapon I chose Iron Commander, because it scales with, well, dexterity just to get more totems. I get basically no damage from dexterity. If I did physical damage build, then scaling with dexterity would be better, but it's still nowhere near Hand of Wisdom and Action Claw or Brutus Mace. As for armor, I had few options. Initially I was testing with Kintsugi armor, but I ended up using the perfect form. I was very skeptical about this armor, but phase acrobatic really does help, and I get to use Arctic armor for free. Wait, did I really forget to put quality on it? Wow. I tried to get dexterity on all my other items. I'll just quickly show what my current items are. There are some alternative items, unique items, but most of them don't have enough resistances or maybe don't have enough life, so I just had to sacrifice damage in order to get some more survivability. As for arrows, many people suggested to use Drill Neck, and it does give a bit more damage, but well, I simply don't have enough dexterity, resistances and, well, life. By the way, it is possible to reach 800 dexterity with this build, and without too much modifications, but it would require a higher level, maybe 90, and Uberlab, which I haven't done. Now let's talk about links. Siege Ballista linked with faster attacks, weapon elemental damage, added cold damage and added lighting damage. And yes, added cold damage gives more damage than Pierce would, but tiny bit less than slower projectiles. By the way, many people overlook that Siege Ballista has 100% Pierce, so you don't need Pierce for clear speed. And slower projectiles can be used for 6 link, but there might be problems with mana. Next, Frenzy linked with greater multiple projectiles, curse on hit and elemental weakness. This setup allows for easy frenzy charge generation and also applies elemental weakness on enemies. Also, I'm using Orb of Storms and critical strikes to trigger elemental overload. But if you are rich and have 2 6-link items, then you can add crit chance and faster attacks for Frenzy setup, so that Frenzy would also trigger elemental overload. Because without faster attacks and crit chance, it is really waste of mana, and it is a lot easier to just drop Orb of Storms. Next I got Wrath Aura, Lightning Golem, Herald of Thunder, Blink Arrow with faster attacks, Wall Lightning Trap, Arctic Armor, and cast on damage taken with Enfeeble for a bit more, well, I'm just used to it. By the way, look at how pretty Scion looks without helmet with Kintsugi armor. So lovely. Now passive skill tree. life, totem nodes, elemental damage, jewel slots, rain of splinters goes here, one fluid motion goes here, another here, careful planning goes here. If you want to push to 800 dexterity, you can get another jewel slot here and put rain of splinters in this, and another fluid motion jewel near the Scion. After doing overlap, you can take this dexterity node and this, and with a little bit more dexterity on gears, you should be able to reach 800 dexterity, and that will give another Siege Ballista for a total of 6. By the way, why did I pick Elementalist and Chieftain? Some would say that Deadeye subclass would be better, but I really don't think so. You don't need pierce, and your bleed won't do much damage. Plus one additional projectile doesn't change anything. Clear speed will basically be the same, and projectile damage based on distance, why mess around with it? You can just get damage from other subclasses. So then, why not Inquisitor? Well, 20% elemental damage would be great, but that is the only useful stat for this build. Hierophant is out of question. Plus one additional totem in helmet limits it to only 4 links, and because it is not crit based, you don't need power charges. So there you go. So the only other option is Chieftain. 30% increased damage while you have totems, 2% regen, a bit more fire damage, and some ignite. I was considering doing pure Hierophant for plus 2 additional totems. But the more totems you have, the less damage each of them will do. So let's say with all 7 totems up, each of them will do 56% less damage. So your combined overall damage would be lower. By the way, about flasks. Don't ask me, I hate flasks. I would do just fine with life, mana and hybrid flasks. But if you're a heavy drinker, I'm sure you know your stuff about liquids. And that's about all. Next build is going to be very special. It already makes me feel like a special snowflake. Patrons already know about this build, and I'll do a short demo in the near future. I also might do a random talk video and use gameplay of that build as a background. So thank you for watching, and hopefully see you soon.